Egypt's military chief Abdel Fattah el-Sisi has criticized the United States for not taking a clear stand to back the move by the North African country's military to oust the democratically elected President Mohamed Morsi on July 3rd. General Fattah said the Obama administration has, quote, turned its back on the Egyptians and they won't forget that, unquote. Morsi's Muslim Brotherhood has also stiffly criticized the U.S., saying its stand to not openly recognize the military action as a coup is a violation of the democratic principles that it advocates. The Obama administration has refused to directly call the removal of ousted President Morsi a coup because it would entail the suspension of approximately $1.3 billion in foreign aid to Egypt, which remains America's surest ally in the region. As the political unrest in the country has gone into over a month, a representative for the Muslim Brotherhood has said they may dialogue with the interim government if it consents to release Islamist leaders, unblock the Brotherhood's finances, and restore the Islamist drafted constitution, among other things. Unless some concession is made, violence will continue in the country. Clashes between pro-Morsi supporters and their opponents have left 300 people dead since the coup took place. Most of them have been shot by security forces. While Malians are expecting a second runoff to the polls on August 11th, a spokesman for the Tuareg rebels in the north of the country has voiced the militia will negotiate the autonomy of Azawad with the victor of the presidential elections. Following the July 28th presidential elections, two candidates emerged in the forefront of the polls, but lacking a clear 50% margin. Rivals Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta and Soumali Cissé are poised to occupy the presidency, but already it seems clear the tenure for the victor of the elections will have to contend with the issue of rebels in the north faced by the ousted president Amadou Toumani Touré. Moussa Ag Assarid, the European representative of the National Movement for the Liberation of Azawad, MNLA, said their struggle would continue for the autonomy of Azawad in the country democratically with the central government in Bamako, but if needed, the MNLA would take up arms. The movement reluctantly acknowledged the presidential elections, saying it has no preference of candidate. The MNLA has reiterated the deal arranged in Burkina Faso gives 60 days for inclusive dialogues to be arranged after a new cabinet is formed, seeking to use the opportunity to negotiate autonomy. Top officials of Zimbabwe's leading opposition party, the Movement for Democratic Change (MDC), have denounced the Wednesday, July 31st presidential election results as total fraud. The party's leader, Prime Minister Morgan Tsvangirai, has called for an audit of the polls. At the same time, another outspoken leader of the party, currently exiled in South Africa, Roy Bennett, has called on citizens of Zimbabwe to stage a peaceful boycott of state services and public utilities. Friday announcements from Zimbabwe stated ZANU-PF had won 2/3 of the National Assembly in the joint parliamentary polling, which was conducted with the presidential elections on Wednesday. The weekend saw the pronouncement of Robert Mugabe as the victor of the presidential elections as well. Rights groups and the country's largest domestic observer group have said the elections were marred by irregularities. Analysts in the country have stated any boycott will only affect the population. Opposition parties fear any manifestation of public demonstrations will lead to a repeat of the post-2008 election bloodshed that followed the last polls. A statement issued by the Moroccan palace has revoked a pardon given to a man convicted of raping 11 children and expressed remorse to the families of the victims. The statement issued on Saturday withdrew the royal pardon recently given to Daniel Galvan Fina, stating King Mohammed had not been aware of the nature of the crimes committed by Fina. Daniel Galvan Fina was jailed in 2011 for raping 11 children who were between the ages of 4 and 15 years old. He was sentenced to 30 years in prison for the crime. Being of Spanish nationality, his pardon was motivated by a request from Spain's King Juan Carlos. The demonstration of thousands of Moroccans prompted the reversal of the decree, which many from the North African country have complained is not the first pardon of a heinous Spanish criminal in the country by King Mohammed. Iran's new president, Hassan Rouhani, officially took the oath of office before the country's parliament on Sunday. The nation's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, on Saturday formally endorsed and confirmed his support for Rouhani, who easily defeated his conservative rivals in June's elections. President Rouhani has promised to fight corruption and all forms of discrimination with a change in international policies to ease the sanctions on Iran over its nuclear policies. Seen as a moderate, White House spokesman Jay Carney has said the U.S. is willing to work with the new administration of Hassan Rouhani if it is serious of dialoguing plainly with the aim of progress. Rouhani has presented a list of cabinet ministers for parliament with a wide enumeration of officials with academic degrees from universities in the United States and the United Kingdom. As Iran's seventh president, he will have an uphill task at restoring the country's derailed economy and negative foreign relations resultant from its controversial nuclear program. The United States has announced the temporary closure of its embassies and consulates in the Middle East and Northern Africa throughout the rest of the week. On Sunday, August 4th, over 20 diplomatic missions were closed due to security concerns. The U.S. State Department has said it is exercising caution after this period over a year ago saw the U.S. consulate in Benghazi, Libya, attacked by Islamic militants, resulting in the death of 4 Americans, including the U.S. ambassador. A majority of the diplomatic missions named are in Muslim countries where Sunday is observed as a regular business day, with Iraq, Libya, and Yemen included. The embassy in Baghdad, Libya, will reopen on Monday. American citizens in these areas have also been cautioned against the potential for terrorist attacks in these regions.